Hey guys, it's Christina Paulden here, and you're listening to the replays of the Breastfeeding Awareness, Inspiration, and Story series. That's right, all day long, we're replaying breastfeeding stories from moms and specialists. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy. Hey guys, I'm Christina Paulden, and welcome to the Teaching a Love of Learning podcast, your go-to podcast for building a love of learning in your little ones. Thank you for tuning in today, and enjoy the show. Hey guys, it's Christina here. For Breastfeeding Awareness Month, I wanted to put together a series to help inform and inspire moms to breastfeed. So throughout the month, you'll hear moms and specialists share their breastfeeding stories and expertise. It's my prayer that this series provides you with the knowledge and support you need while on your breastfeeding journey. Please keep in mind that this series was created for informational purposes only. Please do not disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking help because of something you may have heard on this series. Enjoy. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. In today's series of Breastfeeding Awareness, Inspiration, and Stories, we have Renee Skinner here to share her story with us. Renee, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. How are you doing today?
I am doing well. I thank you for agreeing to come on and share your story. I'm excited to hear it. Whenever you're ready to share, we're listening.
Well, I'm humbled to be here, so thank you. Um, yeah, my story is pretty much being a mom. I've been a mom since I was actually 17 years old, and it was the only time that I felt like I had control of something in my life because it was kind of traumatic growing up. So being a mom was very empowering for me personally. Um, try to read all the good books and see what was the best thing and to do, and nursing was always an option that I was open to. So when I had my son, that's always what I wanted to do, was just like be the best mom.
Mm-hmm.
And so nursing was by far the hardest thing to do as a mom, because you got to go through all the, is he latching on right, am I doing it right, I'm bleeding, I'm cracking here, should I keep
Right.
doing it? It's all the emotions and trying and trying and trying and never giving up. So for me, that was like my first real step into adulthood.
Mm.
So that's where when I'm an advocate now, I'm almost 40 now. I still advocate breastfeeding because I think it's the most important way that a mother bonds with their child.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah,
just
I
it
hear
just
you.
an is what is thing, and I don't ever take it away from anybody that's using bottle feed, because you get that same thing, just but the nursing is just,
It's different.
it's like glue,
Right.
and adherence, I believe, to something that's that special that no guy can do. I take that
Mm-hmm.
pride. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what anybody says. Like, women, we rock. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you only breastfeed your son, or is that the only child you have?
No, I have a total of 6 kids,
Oh,
and I nursed all of them. Um, went by stages with each. I nursed them until they're about 5 months on, natural, and then expressed milk and bottle fed for about a year to 18 months with each child.
okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So with your son, would you say the breastfeeding got easier with the other children? I noticed that the first is always the most difficult, but once you do the first, the other ones are easier. Is that true for you?
Yes and no, in just some instances, because kids are different.
Mm-hmm.
So like I always say, yes for my first and second, but first obviously being the learning child. So by the time the second child came along, yes. But my third child was just very, very unto herself difficult, because she was very latchy. So like I had to actually get her off of me sometime, because she was that attached. She
Mm.
would try to nurse on other people that would hold her. That's how much she was like, always in the nursing moment. And I didn't want her to like have that complex growing like, I gotta always eat, because my kids were always eating. They were big. So
Mm.
it has its unique challenges, of course, with different kids. But I will say, agree. Yes, the first child's always the most difficult because you're learning. It's like with
Right.
anything you're learning, it's always going to be difficult the first time. But the more
Right.
you do it, more muscle memory, more times man, I was washing dishes, nursing my kids. You feel me? Like cooking, making sure the head don't get hot. Of course, I had those little wraps like they have in Africa and India
Mm-hmm.
for
Yeah.
the little bands and things like that. And my kids were always with me. There
Mm.
was nothing weird about that to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you talking about baby wearing?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
They're like a part of me for so long. How can I stop that? You know what I'm saying? That's how I was when I was nursing. If I look weird because I look like I'm pregnant still, even though my baby's right there, like that's how I felt while I was
Right.
like, you can't talk to me. That's how I felt like as a mom. You can't do what I'm doing, so leave me alone. So that's how I'm saying it changed me, because I wasn't like that before. I was a very shy person.
Oh.
It was very empowering.
Okay. Okay. Well, would you like to offer any words of encouragement to breastfeeding mothers?
Yes, patience is
Mm.
key, and love yourself to enough that you're going through this is spiritual, physical, mental, all type of a decision that you're going to be infusing to your child. Respect that, you know.
Yes. Thank you, Renee, for being here and sharing your story. I really
Oh,
appreciate it.
no problem. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
To the listeners, I want you to leave all of your breastfeeding questions in the comments section below. Let us know what they are so we can get them answered for you. Thank you all for tuning in. Talk to you soon. Thank you for tuning in to the Teaching a Love of Learning podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show. For more resources and tips on how to create a love of learning in your little one, visit teachingaloveoflearning.com. Be sure to subscribe so you're notified when new episodes are posted. Talk to you soon. Hey guys, it's Christina Paulden here, and you're listening to the replays of the Breastfeeding Awareness, Inspiration, and Story series. That's right, all day long, we're replaying breastfeeding stories from moms and specialists. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy. Hey guys, I'm Christina Paulden, and welcome to the Teaching a Love of Learning podcast, your go-to podcast for building a love of learning in your little ones. Thank you for tuning in today and enjoy the show. Hey guys, it's Christina here. For Breastfeeding Awareness Month, I wanted to put together a series to help inform and inspire moms to breastfeed. So throughout the month, you'll hear moms and specialists share their breastfeeding stories and expertise. It's my prayer that this series provides you with the knowledge and support you need while on your breastfeeding journey. Please keep in mind that this series was created for informational purposes only. Please do not disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking help because of something you may have heard on this series. Enjoy. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. In today's series of Breastfeeding Awareness, Inspiration, and Stories, we have Shawn Taylor here to share her story with us. Hello, Shawn. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Christina?
I am doing well. I'm so thankful that you're here to share your story. I know briefly before we spoke, you said that it was a little different from the other stories that you've heard. So I'm excited to hear it. And whenever you're ready to start, we're listening.
Okay. So I cringe a little bit because I told you when we, spoke a little bit, when you asked for people to tell their story. At first, I didn't think I had a story, and I started tagging other people to come tell their story. And one of the ladies that I tagged, I ended up talking to her about it. And she was like, girl, you have a breastfeeding story. You definitely need to tell someone, because I guarantee you're not the only one. And so I just decided to kind of just step out and tell my business, right? Be as transparent as I can possibly be, with the hopes to bless someone else with some freedom, and realize that they're not alone. So my breastfeeding story is a little different. I was not raised in a family that really spoke about breastfeeding. I didn't know anything about it. And honestly, I didn't really do the research myself. When I first started, when I first got pregnant with my first child, I was like, I'm going to try breastfeeding, but I really had no plan, and I really didn't do any research or anything to that effect. And the milk was not coming in like it was supposed to. And so I quit. Like, I instantly just quit. I did not try at all. I can be honest and say, I think I tried in the hospital. There was a lactation nurse that came in there for a little bit. She talked about the breast pump, and then I was like, okay, well, I'll try. But within maybe a week or two, I was done. I was like, I'm not trying this anymore. It's not coming. It's not working. I'm drinking water. I'm doing everything they asked. They told me to get the fenugreek tea. They told me to do this. It's not working. So I just quit. So then round up to my second child is born. I'm giving it, I'm learning a little bit more. So I'm going to give it an honest shot. And so I tried to breastfeed him, and I breastfed him probably really well in the hospital. It was going really good. When I got home, it became more difficult. And I think maybe within a month, I had stopped breastfeeding him, because I felt like my supply was not enough for him. And again, I was doing it by myself. I didn't have really family members around saying, hey, you can do it. Try this, try that. It was more so of, girl, if your milk ain't coming in, just go give him some. Just go buy some.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there wasn't a press for me to keep trying to do better. And so I just quit. And then when my third child came, I was on it. Like, I was like, forget this, forget anybody who is encouraging me to do formula. I'm just going to keep pushing through. And I did do formula with him as well. But out of all three children, he was the one that I breastfed the most, and was most consistent with, and was intentional, like daily, every single day, intentional about breastfeeding him. And that was very interesting for me. And so where it became interesting for me was, I was in leadership at a logistics company. So I was a part of the management team. I had to work 10 to 12-hour shifts. I was required to work a minimum of 10 hours, but typically each shift would be 12 hours. And we worked 5 days a week. And so with pumping, right, we all know that we got to go pump every couple of hours. And so I didn't have a space to pump in, and I didn't know the breastfeeding laws. And again, I was doing this by myself, and I could have researched it, but I didn't. But I didn't have like a place to breast pump. So I was in the bathroom, y'all, every 2 hours pumping, like every 2 hours in the nasty restroom pumping. And I think somebody ended up mentioning it, like, hey girl, you don't have to be in the restroom. They're supposed to have a space for you to pump, like
Mm-hmm.
to do that in a clean place. And so that was interesting to me, because just that alone, that they were allowing me to, and you know what, I say allowing, but that wasn't true, because there were plenty of times that I was pulled into the office by higher management saying that I was spending too much time away from my desk. And it was like, you're spending too much time away from your desk. And my response was, I hear you. However, that too much time is me pumping. And so what they thought was acceptable was a 15-minute break 2 times in a 10-hour shift to pump. That's what they thought was acceptable. Yes. Yeah. And so I'm a little feisty. I stand up for my rights. I stand up for what I believe is correct, and I try to be open-minded, because sometimes I'm wrong. And so when they said that, of course, I was alone, and there was nobody really there to tell me anything different of what the rules were, what was going on. There were times that I would be sitting at my desk, and we've all had this, and I would just start leaking, like randomly leaking. And I had shirts, uniform shirts, because we all wear uniforms. So I had uniform shirts in my desk drawer, folded up nice and neat. So when those things happened, I could go change my shirt. And even though I lived less than 10 minutes away from where I worked, they would not allow me to go home and change. So I had to keep shirts. And when I say shirts, not like one, not like two, there were 3 shirts
Wow.
nicely folded in my desk drawer for me to change into. Um, and so my story is different. And so what I would say to anyone that is going through that is to press through, to push through. And I guess I want to kind of go back before I even go down that route and just tell you that my middle son has some issues with his immune system. And I have for years thought that part of that was because I did not breastfeed him like I was supposed to, because now I'm getting older and I understand the significance of it and the nutrients and all that good stuff that we bring and we give to them naturally through breastfeeding. And now I'm realizing now at 40 that, that wasn't my fault. But for years, y'all, I blamed myself for his illness. I blamed myself because I felt like God had given me the gift of breastfeeding my children, and that gift could have protected him. And so recently the realization has been, it's not about, I could have protected him. It is what it is. And it's not because I didn't breastfeed him.
Right.
Like that it is what it is.
Wow. Yeah. I think you're the first one that mentioned actually nursing in the workplace. So that there is this whole different topic, But I want to ask you, you stated that with your first one, you tried and then you just kind of gave up. Like it wasn't working, milk wasn't coming in. Knowing what you know now, what would you have done differently with your first one? Is there anything differently that you would have done?
I think I would have been, I would ask more questions. So I felt alone, right? I mentioned that. I felt alone. I didn't have people in my family to say, you got this, girl, you can do it, try this. And although the research was out there, it was, the internet can be kind of scary.
Yes.
People can go way to the left or way to the right. And and I just wasn't sure what to do. And if I had known, even with the lactation nurse in that moment, because the lactation nurse she was amazing. She was, you can do this. This is great. Just keep trying, keep doing it. I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you get your first ounce, you're going to be so excited and, da, 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 da. And she was just really amazing. And she gave me her card. I do remember her giving me her card. I just don't know that I cared enough to put it in a safe place.
Right.
And so in that moment, I just wish in that moment, I probably would have just done more, just done the research or reach out to someone and say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. Somebody please help me.
Yes. And that is what I'm noticing out of all of the stories I'm hearing. I mentioned this in the previous ones, but 2 things that you have to have when you're planning on breastfeeding. One is support. You have to have that support system, and it can't just be you, because you're going to be exhausted. Mm-hmm. You're not going to remember what you need to be doing. And the other one is knowledge. You need to know what to expect. You need to know what is normal. You need to know what to do if or when this happens. So, hopefully for the moms that are not yet breastfeeding, they will be able to listen to these stories and say, okay, when it's my turn, I would know what to expect. Because I really think that's our missing gap. Is just we don't have the parents to go to ask for it because they didn't breastfeed. And then we're kind of uncomfortable, reaching out to just specialists. We just had a baby. We just want to be left alone, not go back to the hospital.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys sharing your stories and offering your advice, I think that this would just really help them see the knowledge and also the support is what's important.
Mm-hmm. It is 100%. It's important. I had no idea. I wish, even still, because even with the third child, it wasn't even about the support for me. It was more so about, what, I'm going to get this done because it's important. Right. It's important enough for me to, if I have to drink 20 million gallons of water, I'm going to do my best to get that done. If I have to, rest, if I have to pump more often and pumping and nothing comes out, that is right. So it's just, you feel so defeated when that happens. but just if I have to do it. And I set timers. I mean, that's exactly what I did when I was at work. I set timers every 2 hours and I went and pumped. I put my milk in the fridge where everybody went to the break room. And I dealt with, because of the particular business that I was in, it was a bunch of men, first of all, and then it was a bunch of Black men, and a lot of them didn't understand what I was doing. And so I would walk through the break room and have to listen to them say, get that nasty stuff out of my fridge next to my lunch and next to this and next to that. And if I had to say anything to anybody in that journey, is you have to block out the noise and then just be willing to push through, because it's going to be difficult, but the results of it is absolutely amazing. It's just, and there's so many different results, the bonding, it's just, I just wish that I'd have done it different, but I understand that was my journey.
Yes.
And it is what it is at this point.
Yes. Sean, let the people know where they can reach you.
All right. So you can reach me on Facebook. My name is Sean Taylor, and I go by Sean the Homeschool Guru. Or you can email me at help@seanthehomeschoolguru.com.
Thank you again, Sean, for being here. To the listeners, I want to hear from you. I want to know if you have been a support system for other breastfeeding moms. Again, support is so important. And now that we know that, let's really think about how we can support others on their journey. Let me know in the comment section below. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for tuning in to the Teaching a Love of Learning podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show. For more resources and tips on how to create a love of learning in your little one, visit teachingaloveoflearning.com. Be sure to subscribe so you're notified when new episodes are posted. Talk to you soon. Hey guys, it's Christina Paulden here, and you're listening to the replays of the Breastfeeding Awareness, Inspiration, and Story series. That's right, all day long, we're replaying breastfeeding stories from moms and specialists. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy. Hey guys, I'm Christina Paulden, and welcome to the Teaching a Love of Learning podcast, your go-to podcast for building a love of learning in your little ones. Thank you for tuning in today, and enjoy the show. Hey guys, it's Christina here. For Breastfeeding Awareness Month, I wanted to put together a series to help inform and inspire moms to breastfeed. So throughout the month, you'll hear moms and specialists share their breastfeeding stories and expertise. It's my prayer that this series provides you with the knowledge and support you need while on your breastfeeding journey. Please keep in mind that this series was created for informational purposes only. Please do not disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking help because of something you may have heard on this series. Enjoy. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. In today's series of Breastfeeding Awareness, Inspiration, and Stories, we have Brittany Banks here to share her breastfeeding journey with us. How are you doing today, Brittany?
I am happy to be here. I'm doing great.
I first want to thank you for being here and sharing your story. I'm super excited to hear it. And whenever you're ready to start, we're listening.
Okay, well, my breastfeeding journey started back in 2018 with my firstborn son. We got off in at a little rough start. It was one reason why I really want to do this interview, because I felt really discouraged at times. I didn't have a natural birth as I expected or as I wanted to. I ended up having a emergency C-section, which was unexpected, of course. It was an emergency. Mm-hmm. So after the C-section, I wasn't able to bond with my son right away. So I actually didn't get to see my son really and hold him until 24 hours after he was born. So I feel that me not being able to bond with him right away and having that chest-to-chest moment, it made my breastfeeding journey a little hard in the beginning. So he wasn't latching on. In the nursery, I found out that they were actually giving him milk, which I didn't want them to offer him formula, and I said that, but I didn't really have anyone there to really speak up. I think my husband, maybe he wasn't speaking up as much as I wanted him to at that time for about the breast milk. But anyways, once we got home, my husband was a great support then. He was actually really encouraging me to breast pump and try to get the milk coming out. And eventually a little milk did come out, but we were supplementing at the time with formula. So at times, you know, if your breast milk is not really coming out, if you're not producing enough, it is okay to use formula. You don't have to feel down about using formula. It's okay. But eventually I did find some lactation brownies online from someone in California. And they were a little bit expensive. I think I spent about $30 on them. But my mom helped me out with buying some. I think I purchased them about 2 times. And then after that, I was like, you know what? That's it. I'm going to find my own recipe with creating my own lactation cookies or brownies. So I started doing that. And once I started doing that and buying my own ingredients, I produced even more milk for my son and was able to put up milk, you know, freeze some milk, which was awesome, and be able to bond with my child and have that closeness with him, which we still have today, even 2 years later. So now I am nursing his little sister, my baby girl, who is 4 months now. And so far, our journey has been great. Right after birth, I was able to get her to latch, and we've been nursing ever since she's been born.
Wow. So something I'm noticing, or I'm going to ask you a question that I've asked others is, when nursing your second child, what is the experience? Is it easier than the first?
I would say it's definitely easier. I had more confidence going into it. I feel like.
Yes, and this has been the same experience for me. Me nursing my daughter again. You think everything is going to be super easy, and you realize there's a lot more to it than just nursing them. But for my son, although I experienced everything the same, everything happened the same, but I was equipped in order to handle those. So I knew what was coming and I knew what to expect. So I think it's always easier the second time around. So that's wonderful. So you talked about creating cookies, and are you still doing that for your daughter, or you're just strictly breastfeeding?
I'm just strictly breastfeeding. I do have the ingredients, but I haven't made any. Actually, I haven't made any for a while. I had a girlfriend who had twins. I had made some for her a few months back, but yeah, I know she's pretty busy. But yeah, they're pretty yummy. So I haven't had any problems though with nursing. So if I need to make some, I can make some.
All right. Well, thank you, Brittany, so much. Would you like to offer any words of encouragement to breastfeeding mothers?
Yes, I would love to. I want to let moms know that you are wonderful. You have a really tough job, or you are doing fantastic at it, and keep it up. And even if you decide that breastfeeding is not for you, it's okay. Do not feel bad about it.
Thank you so much, Brittany. To the listeners, I want to hear from you. I want to know if you experienced any issues breastfeeding, and how did you overcome those issues and concerns? Let us know in the comment section below. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll talk to you all soon. Thank you for tuning in to the Teaching a Love of Learning podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show. For more resources and tips on how to create a love of learning in your little one, visit teachingaloveoflearning.com. Be sure to subscribe so you're notified when new episodes are posted. Talk to you soon. Hey guys, it's Christina Paulden here, and you're listening to the replays of the Breastfeeding Awareness, Inspiration, and Story series. That's right. All day long, we're replaying breastfeeding stories from moms and specialists. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy. Hey guys, I'm Christina Paulden, and welcome to the Teaching a Love of Learning podcast, your go-to podcast for building a love of learning in your little ones. Thank you for tuning in today and enjoy the show. Hey guys, it's Christina here. For Breastfeeding Awareness Month, I wanted to put together a series to help inform and inspire moms to breastfeed. So throughout the month, you'll hear moms and specialists share their breastfeeding stories and expertise. It's my prayer that this series provides you with knowledge and support you need while on your breastfeeding journey. Please keep in mind that this series was created for informational purposes only. Please do not disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking help because of something you may have heard on this series. Enjoy. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. In today's series of Breastfeeding Awareness, Inspiration, and Stories, we have Jocelyn Young here to share her story with us today. Jocelyn, how are you?
I am fine. How are you today?
I am doing well. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. I'm glad to be here.
Whenever you're ready to share your story, we're listening.
Okay, so I started motherhood late. I was 29 when my firstborn was born. I'm 35 now, and I am currently on baby number 4. So over that time, though, I had 3 daughters, and I breastfed all 3 of them. So I've had quite a myriad of experiences when it comes to breastfeeding, in part because at the time that I started, we did it primarily as a financial choice. It was something that I knew I wanted to do, but it also made greater sense for our finances at the time to not have to buy a bunch of bottles and not have to buy a bunch of milk and things every month, and my body was producing. So I was happy to do that, and it was great. What I did not expect was some of the pushback that I got from people for 2 major things. One, I was not a parent who covered up when she was breastfeeding. It was not that mom. And the second thing being the length of time at which I was breastfeeding my children. So the cover-up thing came about as well as the breastfeeding thing, very kind of organically. My firstborn didn't like to be covered up when she was eating. She would stop. She would stop every single time until I took the blanket or whatever off, and then she would go back to eating. And so it became a thing where either I was going to sit there for an hour and hope she got enough milk in and hope I could get back to whatever I was trying to get to while we played this peekaboo game with the cover, or I just wasn't going to cover up. I was going to let her finish eating in her 20 to 25 minutes, and, we can both get on with whatever came next. But I got a lot of people who were very offended by me breastfeeding so openly, and a lot of ones who wouldn't actually say it would do things like, oh, you just don't care. Oh, you just don't mind when people see your boobs. Oh, it's like this thing about almost a strike against my modesty because, I have to whip my boob out to feed my baby.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something that I had not prepared myself for. But by the time my second and third born came, it was like, whatever, this is what it is. I'm a mom in these situations, I'm a mom first, right? And I think that's what a lot of women feel when I'm with my child at this moment doing this thing that they need from me. I'm a mom first. And so I have to make the mom decision. And the mom decision might not necessarily be a personal woman decision. It might not necessarily be a societal decision. It is the decision that is best for me as a mother and this child as my child in that moment. I need to feed you. So whatever it's going to take for me to feed you successfully, that's what we're going to do. The second thing was really about the length of time that I breastfed my daughters. My first two, I breastfed them for about 18 months. I literally only stopped because I was pregnant at that time, each time. And I stopped at the point that the breastfeeding started to create contractions. It was very abrupt for all of us, even though I had tried methods of weaning a little bit more for my second born, but because I didn't want that sudden kind of halt to happen, because for a very long time after they were done breastfeeding, they would still reach for my breast. It was still a comfort to them. Even now when one of them is sick, like if they come to lay on me, they reach for my breast to just hold them. And then before a lot of, not just the older generation, before a lot of people, it's like, why would you do that so long? You know, you only need to breastfeed for 6 months. And then after that, they can do milk, or they can do this, or they can do that. And I noticed that for me, it was about our bond. Like it became so much of our routine that for the most part, I didn't even think about how long it was going.
Mm-hmm.
This was what happens. My baby gets hungry and I feed them. So as time would go, we were implementing more food. So it wasn't like they weren't eating, I guess, regular everyday food. It just got to a point where they were comfort nursing. So when they were sick, or when they weren't feeling well, or when they were tired, you know, it was just this comfortable thing that this is going to calm them down. They're going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. And it actually doesn't hurt them. With my 2-year-old, I wasn't pregnant. Well, she's 3 now, but I wasn't pregnant. So I didn't have that hard push.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I started to actually wean her, she fought back tooth and nail. She would go from eating regular food to not eating anything because I wouldn't nurse. It was crying. It was chaotic. It was heartbreaking for the both of us, because I felt like I felt a sense of betrayal to her, that she had this thing and it was comfortable and it did what she needed and it gave her what she needed. And then I was just taking it away.
Right.
I also felt a sense of pressure, external pressure. She's 2 now. She can eat regular food. It became even less acceptable that I would take her in my arms and breastfeed her for anything.
Right.
And it became an act for a lot of people of poor parenting in some way, because I had not weaned her yet. So it was, those are the 2 things that stand out in my mind now, because I'm currently pregnant again, and because the plan is also to breastfeed this child. You know, and after my firstborn, we did try some other methods with our other kids, where my middle child and my third child, they did take the bottle sometimes, but it was still predominantly breast milk.
Mm-hmm.
So it was still, you know, an economic choice as well as a body and health choice for me and baby. But I expect to still have to go through some of those things again. And because every one of those experiences was slightly different, because of your children are different. Each child is slightly different. I'm wondering what the differences would be like with my son when he's born in, 8 weeks or so. So.
Can I ask, because you stated how I believe you said she was 2 at the time, when you stopped nursing her, you felt as though you were taking something away from her.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said you felt the pressure of everyone saying it's time to just kind of let it go.
Mm-hmm.
How did you find a balance to that? Like, because when you think about it, this is something between you and your daughter,
Right.
So what did you do in order to just kind of make everyone happy in a healthy way?
Right. Well, what I ended up having to do is about halfway through, when I was weaning unsuccessfully, I was like, okay, I have to decide what is the important part here. What is my overarching plan? What is it that I want to accomplish with this, and how do I want to accomplish it? And once I decided that, I had to ignore everything else.
Right.
I had to ignore the feelings of the pressure of someone saying that, you know, she is old enough to do this now. Like, I get it. I know how old she is. She's my daughter, you know, like I know when she got here. And I had to be more attentive to my feelings and her feelings.
Right.
So the truth was, it got to a point where I was like, well, I physically cannot keep this up, because at 2, she was a larger child. She was she's not a tiny baby anymore.
Right.
So it's more difficult for me to find a space to breastfeed you when I'm not at home, when we're out in public, when we're doing this, when we're doing that. And so what I did was I started to listen to my body cues, and I listened to her cues. She did not want to breastfeed, she did not want to end breastfeeding. She was not ready for that. But over time, I noticed that there were certain times of the day where she would normally have reached for me that she didn't. And instead of me reaching for her during those times, I let that time kind of go and lapse and lapse and lapse. So if she would normally have me right before her nap time, and this particular day she didn't reach for me, she didn't ask, then I wouldn't do it. And what happened is we were able to taper things off. So by the time I got to a comfort level of being able to say, this is the end, and she got to a comfort level of being able to be like, okay, well, I can have other things and still be comforted and still be satisfied. Okay. It wasn't as painful a break. Right. Initially, though, it was tooth and nail. It was hard. I couldn't remain consistent. She would cry. I would cry. It was a whole mess. But by the time we got to the end of it, when I finally put my foot down as a mom and I said, you know, I'm going to make this decision based off of what is best for my child and me and our household, and not this decision based off of how anyone else feels about what I should or shouldn't be doing at this time. It allowed me to make better decisions because I was doing it with a sense of clarity. I was doing it with my why in mind and with my children in mind.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. Do you mind sharing, because you mentioned earlier just how people kind of disapproved of some of the things that you were doing. Do you mind sharing if that was like your family, or was that out in public? And any tips on how to, especially if it's your family, just kind of focus on what's best for you, your children, and your household?
Yeah, it was both, actually. I got more vocal things from my family, but I definitely got a lot of looks and, you know, the eye rolling or the disgust from people when we were out.
Yeah.
When I was out, because I'm not really just trying to flash my boobs. So if we were out, say to dinner, we would get a booth. I would sit on the inside of the booth because at some point I'm going to have to nurse my baby. And it made it simpler to cover myself without having to cover us up. You know, with my family, what I did was there were a couple of people I had to pull to the side and say, listen, I understand how you feel about this, but you don't get a vote in this. You know, and I didn't necessarily say it like that. What I would normally say is, you know, I get it. This is probably not how you grew up seeing it. My family isn't really, my family isn't really one for breastfeeding. Most of us as kids were bottle fed. My husband's family, I think there was a combination of some. So, you know, both sides had quite a few things to say, sometimes not so privately. But I just said to them, I'm going to do what is best for us.
Right.
And it wasn't always easy, especially at the beginning as a new mom, because it's like you don't necessarily want to ruffle any feathers, or you don't want anyone to tell you that you're doing it wrong. And once I gave myself the grace of saying, I don't have to do it this way. I don't have to wear a cover up just because everybody's more comfortable when I cover up, but I do have to feed my baby. That made it easier for me to just make the decision and to not always take it personally when someone would say something about how I was doing it, or about, you know, me not being covered up, or about any parts of, you know, the process that I was going through.
Yes. And doing this series, it just kind of brought to light just how we really have to focus on what's best for our family, because you get it from every angle. Either you breastfeed or you don't. If you get it, if you don't breastfeed, if you use formula, if you choose to cover up, if you don't choose to cover up, when you choose to stop breastfeeding, when you don't choose to stop, everyone is going to have an opinion.
Yeah.
And your journey, your story, your situation in life is yours alone. And
Yeah.
it's so easy for someone to insert their own thoughts and opinion, just let things roll off of their lips, not even knowing, what you got going on in your situation and what's best for your household. So,
Right.
listeners, always remember to just focus on what's right for you, for your family and your household, and don't even worry about what everybody else got to say about it.
Exactly. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. One of the things that I do now is I always tell myself I'm going to give myself grace on this, because there are so many decisions that you have to make as a parent at all times, that if you try to consider everyone else's opinion in addition to what your needs are, your family needs are, and your actual beliefs and biases toward whatever that thing is, then you are going to overwhelm yourself, and you're going to consume yourself with trying to please everyone all the time. But we are parents. We have one job as a parent, and that's to make the decisions that are best for our children and our families as they are in front of us at that moment. So I give myself grace to make other people upset with choices that I'm making for my children. As long as they are healthy, happy, and whole, I'm doing my job. And nobody else outside of our bubble gets to make that kind of decision or gets to implement decisions that would prevent that.
That's awesome. I love it. Jocelyn, would you like to offer, and you've already done it, but would you like to offer words of encouragement to other breastfeeding moms?
I have about 3 things. My first thing to say is what I just said. Give yourself some grace. Motherhood is something, and breastfeeding is something that you kind of learn as you go. You can know all the techniques and whatnot, but sometimes, you have to make adjustments for your baby and for whatever your situation is best within your family. The second thing I'll say is recognize that sometimes it's going to take time. Is not always immediate for moms who are breastfeeding. So don't worry yourself sick about how long it takes or how difficult it is in the beginning. You're going to find a rhythm. You will find a rhythm. And once you do, it will be like second nature, whatever your process is. You will be able to autopilot through your process. So just don't worry about how long it's taking you to get a rhythm in place. Is going to happen. And the third thing I would say is to take care of yourself while you are breastfeeding, especially in the beginning. So much emphasis is being put on like how much you feed the baby. Are you eating the right things to produce your milk? And sometimes milk production comes really simply. A lot of women don't produce even when they try everything. Just be mindful that this is just as much a psychological thing as it is a physical thing that your body is doing. So take care of yourself. And if it's happening and it's natural and you don't have any problems breastfeeding, wonderful. Eat the foods that make you feel good and that help you with that. And you may have to try a few things to get to that point. Get your rest. Set your feeding schedule based off of your baby. Don't feel the need to have anyone else tell you how it has to happen. But if your body is not producing milk, if you are not producing to the quantity that you want to in order to really feed your baby, produce what you can produce and do not be afraid to find a supplement. Don't take that out on yourself. That's not a you problem. Bodies are different. Breastfeeding can happen many different ways. And sometimes you might have to supplement your child with something else that you feel comfortable with because your body doesn't produce all the milk that you want it to. And that is still legitimate. That still makes you a good mom. That still means that you're doing the job that you said you would do when it came to taking care of your kid. So give yourself grace is really my main thing. I say it all the time. Give yourself grace, because that is going to carry you farther and wider, not just with your breastfeeding, but with every aspect of parenting that you have. You wake up every morning, you give them the best that you have. And if that's a whole lot, that's wonderful. We love abundance as parents. But if it's a little, that's what you had that day. And then you get up the next morning and you try again. So that's what I got.
That's good. That's good. Could you let us know where can people find you?
So I am on Facebook. I have actually a family gear group because I'm starting a YouTube channel called Life with My Beloveds. You can find us on Facebook at Life with My Beloveds. And you can also find me, I'm an author, I write paranormal romance, so you can find me as Jocelyn F. Young on Facebook. So just hit me up, drop me a little note, let me know that you came from the, from the Breastfeeding podcast, and I would love to talk more about parenting and all things motherhood.
Thank you again, Jocelyn. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much. I was grateful to be a part of this.
To the listeners, I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced breastfeeding shaming? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, be sure to place your breastfeeding questions in the comment section below. All right, guys, thank you all for tuning in. I'll talk to you all soon. Thank you for tuning in to the Teaching a Love of Learning podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show. For more resources and tips on how to create a love of learning in your little one, visit teachingaloveoflearning.com. Be sure to subscribe so you're notified when new episodes are posted. Talk to you soon. Hey guys, it's Christina Paulden here, and you're listening to the replays of the Breastfeeding Awareness, Inspiration, and Story series. That's right, all day long, we're replaying breastfeeding stories from moms and specialists. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy. Hey guys, I'm Christina Paulden, and welcome to the Teaching a Love of Learning podcast, your go-to podcast for building a love of learning in your little ones. Thank you for tuning in today, and enjoy the show. Hey guys, it's Christina here. For Breastfeeding Awareness Month, I wanted to put together a series to help inform and inspire moms to breastfeed. So throughout the month, you'll hear moms and specialists share their breastfeeding stories and expertise. It's my prayer that this series provides you with the knowledge and support you need while on your breastfeeding journey. Please keep in mind that this series was created for informational purposes only. Please do not disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking help because of something you may have heard on this series. Enjoy. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. In today's series of Breastfeeding Awareness, Inspiration, and Stories, we have Dashika Moore here to share her story with us. Thank you, Dashika, for being here. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. We're excited to hear your story whenever you're ready to share. We're listening.
Okay, so I am a mother of 5. My journey begins with twins, boy, girl. At first, I was a little terrified. I didn't know what to expect with breastfeeding twins. When we began the journey, I had one twin asleep while I fed another twin, or the other twin, and it didn't seem to work so well. I found myself to be very exhausted. Then I had some family come through. My mother did, and she said, honey, you are going to have to feed these twins at the same time if you're going to get any rest. So I started to breastfeed both children at the same time. Then my milk supply actually came in a little bit sooner than the average person because with twins, your body moves a little bit faster. So I had, between pumping and feeding twins, I found myself at full work. Breastfeeding is a job, I like to say, in itself, because it requires you to manage your time, and also it takes a lot of your time in order to breastfeed your children. So I breastfed the twins for about 10 months. I found out I was pregnant with our third child. And at the time that I found out, I was already 12 weeks pregnant. At the time, I was like, okay, well, I'm pregnant. I'm already exhausted with the breastfeeding of the twins. So I decided to end a little bit earlier. So then about the 11th month, I supplement Similac for the kids, for the twins. And then I had my third child, which was a boy, and I began to breastfeed him as well. I exclusively breastfed him. There was no Similac the whole 15 months that I breastfed him. And he also was a child who chose not to take a bottle. So he didn't like the nipple or the latex of a bottle. So our journey stayed with just him receiving breast milk, and I did not end up pumping. The flow of my milk just regulated. It wasn't like I had over the amount of milk. It just regulated to his feeding. After that, I I weaned him at 15 months. 4 years later, I breastfed another child for 15 months, and I am currently breastfeeding a 1-year-old now. And that is how I began breastfeeding.
Wow. And you started with twins.
Yes.
And you stated that your mom came and talked to you and told you you're gonna have to nurse them at the same time. I talk about how important support is, because for one, we're exhausted. Like, we don't know what day it is. We're trying to figure out if we fed, when was the last time we fed. So it's a lot going on, especially
Yes.
in those beginning months. So having
Yes.
someone there to kind of let us evaluate the situation and say, this is what needs to be done, is very helpful.
Right. Yes.
I want to ask you if you could break down what a first time breastfeeding mom would experience.
Okay. So, in the beginning, right after you have the baby, um, it's a little overwhelming because you're trying to latch the baby. I think that's the first thing. Like, is the baby actually getting onto the breast properly? Um, that's the first concern. The baby, when it comes out, you have to kind of train it to open in its mouth to getting on, and how far does the breast get in to the mouth. So right in the beginning stage, the latching is the first thing you have to conquer. The second thing you have to conquer is, did my milk come in? Is there enough? Some women right in the beginning feel like they don't have enough milk, and even at times they don't feel like their milk has came in yet. And when we become first time mothers, the first instinct that we get as mothers is, okay, we need to take care of this baby, and the first way to take care of this baby is to feed it. And so if you don't feel like your milk is coming in, that's another thing that you have to overcome. And soreness. I always like to, as beautiful as breastfeeding is, I also like to shine the light on the things that people sometimes don't talk about, and that is being sore, engorgement of the breast because you are filling up, or the soreness of the nipples because the baby is latching on or has not latched on correctly, and you may feel a little soreness in the back area, if you're not properly sitting the correct way. Or the cramping that you feel when the baby is nursing and you're feeling the uterus contract. Those are my top 3 things in the beginning that you have to overcome, or that you are faced with right in the beginning. Then I am a mother who likes to allow my children to set their times on when they want to eat. A lot of the times doctors will tell you you want to wake the baby every 2 hours. You want to make sure they're getting those scheduled feedings. I agree. Yes, if you feel as though the baby may not be getting enough milk, but we need those hours of sleep. So if you didn't wake that baby up in the middle of the night for that 2 hour feed, and you went on and took a little extra sleep, by all means, do that. That's what you had to do. And that baby didn't lose weight or lose anything in its growing process. So those are the things right in the beginning that you are faced with breastfeeding.
Yes, I totally agree. I experienced all of that, and especially with the latching, because if it's not done right, it's going to be painful. But when it's done correctly, there's just that initial pain, and then it goes away. So that's extremely important. But yeah, I experienced all of that. So can we now talk about just the benefits of breastfeeding?
Okay. So the benefits of breastfeeding that I have seen, one is like allergies. Like my daughter, I think because I believe I stopped a little bit too soon, but my daughter came up with like a food allergy and like some allergies of like pollen, nature, and different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And my other kids that didn't get, Similac or other forms of milk, they they didn't experience, or they don't have allergies. Um, they're also a little bit, I don't want to say it, but they are a little bit more smarter.
Mm,
They have higher IQs. They pick up the communication between the baby, I think, starts early
right.
because as kids get teeth in their mouth and you're breastfeeding, like that initial communication to be like, oh, no, bite mommy, or no, that's a little bit too hard. Like you're actually talking to that baby, and the baby is understanding every step of the way. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really experience my kids biting me like that, or their teeth rubbing against me because I spoke to them. So they do catch on. A lot better. Skin, they, not having eczema, their skin come out really great. Um, what else have I experienced? I use the breast milk in a lot of different things, like
Yes.
rashes that they've had, cradle cap, breastfeeding, the milk that comes with them. And what's so great about the breast milk is it's uniquely made for each child.
Mm-hmm.
Your breast milk does not come in the same for each child. So, with all of that, I've used it on their skin because sometimes babies get they call them in our culture like kissing bumps,
Mm-hmm.
but they're the little rashes in the beginning. And I put breast milk on my child's skin, let it dry, and within a couple of days or weeks, I saw the skin clear up. So
Yes.
breast milk is, I would like to say, a healing agent.
Mm-hmm.
So breastfeeding has a lot of benefits, but those are my top ones that I've noticed in my children.
I agree. The benefits, not only for the baby but mom also. Yeah, this is great. So I want to ask you now, would you like to give breastfeeding moms any words of encouragement?
Um, Stick it out, is my biggest encouragement. Even though you may be tired, or you have to return back to work, or you're having those doubts that it's not working, try and stick it out the best way that you can. You talked about support in the earlier stage of the conversation, and support is very crucial. At that time, I don't know if you do have your spouses with you, having them with you at that time to support you, being involved, because sometimes the spouses feel like they're left out,
Mm-hmm.
but bringing them in and keeping them involved also helps with this journey. But no matter what, you are giving your baby the best. No matter how tired you are, how hard it seems, you can do this. It just takes some time. And in that time that you give your baby to breastfeed, the body is going to work with you. So don't give up and hang in there.
It's good stuff right there. Can you tell everyone where they can find you?
They can find me at Mommy Motivated on Facebook, and it's MOMMIE Motivated. Or if you would like to reach out to me, you can reach out to me at mommymotivated247@gmail.com. And I am more than willing to help or give any tips that I have from my breastfeeding experience.
Thank you again so much for sharing your story. We appreciate it.
Oh, you are very welcome. Again, thank you for having me.
To the listeners, I want you to post all of your breastfeeding questions in the comments section below. Let us know what your questions are so we can get them answered for you. Thank you all for tuning in. Talk to you soon. Thank you for tuning in to the Teaching a Love of Learning podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show. For more resources and tips on how to create a love of learning in your little one, visit teachingaloveoflearning.com. Be sure to subscribe so you're notified when new episodes are posted. Talk to you soon.